for TT1.
This is getting extremely tense at this point in time. TT1 has all the defense he needs up. He does have the Twilight Council incoming. He has that pylon, the 7-gate, used almost as a defensive procedure, and it looks like TT1 knowing exactly how to time his economy. He's at 83 workers, no more workers being made at this point. Might be just a few too many probes, don't want to overmax. Now Idra getting out a lot of infestors out, getting more Zerglings. We don't see any Hive in production yet, but man is that macro from Idra solid. Taking his 4th base. The creep spread decent at this point in time, not stellar. And the Overlord's now branching out through the map. And if TT1 manages to win this game, I will be very shocked because he is playing directly into Idra's strengths. Idra has not had any pressure put on him all game long. And here comes a Roach counterplay.
Yep, we see some pressure coming out from Idra. He's about 8 supply from being capped, so he doesn't really mind too much. If he loses these Roaches, he takes down one of the gateways. Now he's going to finish off his Photon Cannon and must surely move in, but at the same time there's a counterattack at the natural, but some force fields and the added shots from those Stalkers will deny a ton of links from going in, but these Roaches were able to take out a cannon and 2 gateways at the 3rd base, Sean.
I really did not like that series of plants there by TT1. He literally wasted about 250 energy on those sentries to not really do too much. In the Vision Center, we see that there's not a lot of hallucinated phoenixes out on the map. There's going to be an attempt at splitting forces up, but TT1 is all over that. We do see one Colossus coming down now. The +2 weapons upgrade. A 2nd Forge was built, not to upgrade 2 at once, but so he could kill off the Forge at the front of his base. But this Infestor army's getting very big, and oh my goodness. Spire being upgraded to Greater Spire right now. Very passive game, but there's a lot of tension at this point. If TT1 can move forward and be aggressive soon, he could hit Idra at a key mistiming.
Yeah, I feel like right now EG Idra just has total map control. If you look at the Overlords, you can basically see every single spot on the map except for, of course, where TT1's bases exist. And here's a huge push coming out of TT1. 1-2 upgrades, a single Colossus in that army, but that is a ton of Stalkers, and they all have Blink. A counterattack coming out from EG Idra, picking off a couple of Stalkers, and now he's going to return home. And the object of that attack was, of course, to make sure that TT1 pulled back.
Oh, but now TT1 going to go for the main gold expansion in the center of the map. We see Idra producing a couple of Corruptors, but he does not even have the food count to be able to produce them into those Broodlords, and there's the blink forward. Zerglings, he's losing a lot of Zerglings, but Idra wants this. He's trying to free up food so that way he can get those Greater Spire Broodlords out. But this is a dangerous timing because right now TT1 has the giant maxed army that every Protoss knows and loves. But will Idra's defense be enough? We see the 7 Corruptors just hatching now.
2 Infestors are out on the field. They also have that Neural Parasite, but there's only going to be 2 Colossus for them to neural, as well as 2 Immortals at the same time. The Stalkers have Blink. We're going to see a big engagement here. A ton of Fungals going down.
The Fungals are dealing gigantic damage. Infested Terrans getting thrown down just to buy a little bit more time. The Broodlords are morphing, but there are only 4 against a gigantic force of Stalkers and Colossi. We see more Stalkers getting morphed in, and this attack is doing a lot of damage. More Infested Terrans popping up. Idra waits until the last second, and the Broodlords have hatched but are not engaging in the fight. But it looks like the regular ground force of Idra might be too much. The amount of gateways allowing TT1 to morph in so many of these Stalkers. One Broodlord gets taken down. He's target firing the Infestors. He's target firing the Broodlords. And there we're going to see yet another one fall. But it looks like Idra's macro may have been a little bit too much as he is in total retreat mode.
Now, the Fungals there just did so much damage onto that army of TT1. Idra was able to keep his opponent in check, making sure that the front lines of his army did not move anywhere just because of the sheer amount of Fungals. Used the rest of his ground army and those Broodlords, like you said, at the very last second to finally engage. But now, if you look in the center of the map, TT1 has secured that high yield. He has transferred over a ton of probes, and now he's begun reinforcing his army right now with looking like focusing on a ton of Zealots. But here's a big counterattack coming from EG Idra. It's going to try to swing into the main.
And there's a warp in by TT1, a very nice placement, forcing Idra to retreat. But now Idra's trying to go for the bottom expansion. It is not going to happen either. TT1 is locked down tight. We see more Zealots warping in. The Zealots are going to be doing massive damage against all of those Zerglings. And wow! Just at the last second, the Colossus manages to sneak out. TT1 might be able to catch those with a blink, but Idra again playing just phenomenally.
We have the Zerg Carapace level 3 about halfway complete. A bunch more Infestors being added on Corruptors as well. Open up the unit counting station. 78 drones for EG Idra, 82 now in comparison. Identical to TT1 with 82 probes himself. The army size is very actually close. We have 5,800 minerals for EG Idra and 55 for TT1. Very close supplies as well. I would assume that EG Idra is going to try to siege the high yield here, but he's got to be careful because, of course, those Blink Stalkers will allow TT1 to position himself underneath them and take him out very, very quickly.
An unusually high Zealot count at this phase in the game. Ordinarily, Protoss will be going for that Templar tech, trying to get the Archons out, trying to get Storm out to deal with the large amount of Zerglings and Zerg units. But TT1 with this high Zealot count looks like he'll be able to rip through the Zerglings and the Broodlings quite quickly. Idra now responding by making a lot of Spine Crawlers, and now we see TT1 going for the high ground, trying to get smaller chokes to engage, and we see a couple of drones. They're going to get caught off guard, and how is the Blink going to rearrange? He needs to get at a good angle to hit those Broodlords. We see Idra having incredible patience, and now the advance forward, and there's the Blink under. Oh, a giant Blink picking off those Broodlords one at a time, but the Broodlord count is ridiculously high. The rest of the ground units getting eaten alive by these Zealots, and there's another Blink forward. This is such an aggressive style of play by TT1. The number of Zealots allowing his Stalkers to stay alive, but unfortunately not enough Stalkers in the field. EG's Idra has so much money in the bank, able to produce almost 100 Zerglings in one moment. The Broodlord count from Idra remains high.
The Dark Shrine is coming out for TT1. It is about 25 seconds from being complete. We have the Infested Terran still trying to get out there and do damage against TT1. And oh, wow, a huge, huge blink up into the main. Using the Colossus to go ahead and walk up there and give sight, but this is going to catch EG Idra off guard. We see some Infested Terrans, the only remaining energy that those Infestors have. And now the Broodlords are going to start raining down, and TT1 is going to have to fall back. Will he lose this Colossus? He does. There's quite a few Corruptors. And another blink there. We see the sniping Broodlords continuing to do damage.
But the counterattack by Idra right at the gold expansion coming at a key time. In the unit counting station, we still see 66 probes out on the field right now. TT1 does manage to keep that Nexus alive, but so cool to see this many Zealots popping out onto the field, and now DT's swinging up to the north, but Idra does not make that classic mistake of no detection. We see that there are Spore Crawlers there, and this is an amazingly close game given the fact oh, actually, no DTs going... Oh, yes, look, 2 DTs going up to the north, and even more Archons getting morphed in. Very cool to see TT1 keep this aggression up, but he needs to take these 2 geysers.
Now, these 2 DTs can do a ton of damage here. It's going to help out TT1 so much. We see another counterattack. He's trying to finish out this Nexus, and he's going to get it. But if we look at the army composition of EG Idra, he has so many Broodlords right now. A total of... I'm looking for them. 11 Broodlords, 2 more morphing. That is a ton of supply. He has a ton of Infestors below there on the ground, but only Lings to actually support his armies. We see a big swing here from TT1 into the center of the map. Those DTs were able to take out that hatchery, but it looks like they have been cleaned up or will soon be cleaned up as the Overseer with some Lings are hot on their trail.
Very impressed with TT1's play in these games, really stepping it up, playing a level above what he was doing yesterday. We see the 3 Archons out there as well. Again, those anti-Zergling, anti-Broodling units. But there are so many Broodlords out on the map, and without no Templar to do any sort of feedbacks. We see TT1 desperately trying to target fire down all of these Broodlords, but there are so many on the field. 10 still remain. The Archon Colossus ripping up everything on the ground, but man, that is a ton of Broodlords. TT1 gives the GG.
And really, I think taking that high yield down just hurt so bad to TT1's economy. He was not able to reinforce with that last attack. You see his minerals extremely low, only at 641. And EG Idra just had too many Broodlords for TT1 to deal with there.
Yeah, you know, TT1, I think, got the chance to build up the army that he wanted to do all the attacks that he wanted. But of course, when you're playing against Idra, Idra is always better at that straight-up game. I don't think I've ever seen Idra patiently sit and wait while his opponent patiently sits and waits, and when they engage, Idra loses very easily. I mean, you saw there were some vulnerable spots there, but Idra managed his army so well with those Broodlords. He had this whole Zergling Infestor army inches behind the Broodlords and just waited calmly for the engagement.
there really wasn't too many fungal growths in that last engagement. It was just a ton of infested Terrans. They're really serving as more damage to be done to those Stalkers. They were trying to focus down the Broodlords. But we're going to be jumping into a map